Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday Night Sports Guys, back for another Tuesday, and this time we once again are on the Sunday Night Sports Guys Facebook page. Hope everybody's having themselves a great day. Today's a real big day in sports. We have the World Series, obviously, that's going to get started here a bit later on this evening. We'll definitely be covering that and giving you our predictions for what's going to transpire in the World Series. Obviously, we will be getting into Week 7 of the National Football League. The Toronto Maple Leafs, Boston Bruins on the back-to-back, finishing that one up in Boston. And, of course, the NBA gets started tonight. So plenty of choices for sports, if that's your niche, which I assume it is if you're following along with us tonight. So once again, joined with my partner in crime, Troy Bladesy Blades. Bladesy, big sports night, but, man, what can we say about last night? I know Link's going to kill us jumping right into football and how many times we can say Tom Brady. We may not have to say Brady a whole lot because a lot of what happened last night in New York, we have to, that Patriot defense now it's becoming on a bit of a record pace by what they gave last night.
Yeah, it's definitely a record pace, Duke, man. It's, that game was a little bit nervous. I was a little nervous going into that game. I hate to admit it. Yep. The Jets are never, no matter how poor they are playing, and they come off a big win against Dallas last week, right? So, yep. I was a little bit nervous, but, Brady, he gets the ball right off the bat and drives down, 8-minute drive or whatever it was, and set the table. And then that defense just took over after that. I mean, it was just, you said about a record pace. I think they said last night now, 7 games in, they've given up 27 points, that defense has. 3.9 points per game. A little over a field goal a game the defense has given up. Now, the team's given up 48 total, but the defense gave up 27. The other 21 came off of turnovers. Yeah. So it's unreal. Now, I know, yes, Link. I know they haven't played hardly anybody yet. I understand that, but you're still playing teams. They're still paying those fuckers. Yeah. So, you gotta give them something. But we're gonna start playing a little better teams starting this week. Really, I don't know the Browns, but it was a good win. Nice win.
Solid and on the road. And speaking of which, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a little bit different approach this week with the show with just Bladesy and myself. So. We're going to try to do our NFL segment here off of our weekly power rankings that we have been doing. We've each had a turn each week, posting our, the ones that we've submitted for the week, and the other two would comment in on it and stuff like that. But what we're going to do this week is we're going to post both Bladesy and mine. So I get my things on the go here. So there we go. Bladesy's got the Patriots. I have mine as well. Where am I? Okay, now all set. So at number 1, Troy, obviously we got we do have the Patriots still 7-0. They haven't really given us any reason to drop them down. Just for the sake of discussion, what would have to happen to you if, let's say, next week they did endure a loss to Cleveland? Still, would you drop them? What could be a reason enough to still drop them? Because I think you have to give them at least one bite of the can there, don't you?
You might have to give them one bite as long, because they played so well. But it depends. I mean, they get smoked by Cleveland for some unknown reason at home, and the Saints, the Saints or the 49ers both have a great game. You may have to vault them up there, but I mean, right now they've done enough. I mean, we haven't talked about the big trade that they made today, going to shore up one of their weaknesses. Yep. Mohamed Sanu, which is somebody they really needed to get a big body. Yeah. We never know with Brady and timing and wide receivers coming in there, but I got from what everybody says, he's a hard worker, and I think that's going to be a huge pickup for them.
Well, isn't he the guy on the sidelines in that? You go on YouTube and you look up like footage from that Super Bowl coming back against Atlanta, and I think him and who's the other the good receiver there for Atlanta,
Julio Jones. Julio Jones.
Him and Jones are talking, and I think it's Sanu who's like saying they've never seen that. And Jones is trying to tell him, not with that quarterback. And he's like, they've never seen anything like this. They never seen what we.
That was probably it. I don't know, but I mean, mean, there was rumors, with Sanu or Emmanuel Sanders there from Denver, and he obviously went to the 49ers today, actually. So that's a big pickup for them. But I'm quite happy with Sanu. I mean, he's a bigger guy. Sanders is more of a slot guy that they already really have in Edelman. So I think Sanu's more of a guy, that can use his speed and use his size, and so I'm quite happy with that pickup for sure, dude.
So that the trade deadline, just so anybody's watching is curious about that comes up this time next week, isn't it? Next Tuesday, is that the trade deadline?
They get a week.
Yeah,
not as big of a deal as it is in like hockey and baseball, but
no,
you pick somebody up like that could put you over the top for sure.
Definitely, and for San Francisco, the pickup for them definitely shows that that's a team that's going to they're going to make a run. They're being serious about the start that they've had, and to watch them go out and make a move like that shows they got some confidence and feel really good about themselves moving along. But we'll see if San Francisco holds in here this week. So number one, we do have the Patriots, and we'll take them down. Number one, and now at number two, hard to believe you and I agreeing this much that apocalypse must be soon upon us. We're both picking the New Orleans Saints. Really no reason to take them out of that second position, would you say?
No, I mean, they lost the one game that Breeze went out in the middle of the game against the Rams early, and Teddy Bridgewater's picked up right where Breeze left off kind of thing. I mean, that was a tough game going into Chicago yesterday, and they handled them. Jury's still out, I think, if Trubisky's as good as everybody thinks he is. But other than that, I mean, they just handled the Chicago defense and everything. So with one loss, I think the Saints are still number one in the NFC. And but there's a couple teams right there that that can definitely flip flop next week if something changes for sure. But Saints definitely. I don't know when Breeze is coming back. I think he's got a couple more weeks, a week or two left. But you know what, Bridgewater has done everything that he could do and more. So. Well, he won that game with no Kamara last week, so that was big.
Yeah, well, they next week is week 8, and they go to Arizona, and then they're on the bye week of their schedule. Wow. So I would assume that Breeze is going to be back when they host Atlanta and stuff. Yeah. So I mean that's quite a luxury, and they have obviously had for Bridgewater to perform the way he has, and I mean that guy was a first-round pick. With Minnesota and stuff like that. So it's not like it was totally unexpected, but he just hadn't played well in his time with Minnesota, and then he comes there and doing this. I mean, he certainly has reestablished himself for another year. We'll see what happens. I don't know how long his contract is there in New Orleans, but man, what a find that's been for the Saints. And defensively, you got to take your cap off to that group there. I mean, right now the Patriots having the start that they're having, but that New Orleans defense they're making some shit happen too at times.
Well, I think that's going to be a trend for most of this top 5, Duke, is really good defenses.
Yeah.
You know what? And New Orleans is not known for having a great defense, but since the days of Rob Ryan, and he kind of screwed that up for a few years. But you know what? They're one of the top defenses in the league for sure, and that's something. Like I say, pretty much everybody in the top 5 has a pretty good defense, except one for me. And you know what? I think good defense is huge. So they're definitely the Saints are doing well. You say about Bridgewater, and he didn't play that bad Minnesota, but then he had that real bad injury, right? I don't know if you remember, and man, he was out for a year or two. Mm-hmm. And so it really has taken him a long time. He really couldn't get that starting job back. Yeah. After he came back. So, I mean, this may be the break that pardon the pun, this may be the break he needs, second break.
Well, I mean, and of course with New Orleans, I mean, if you're seeing how well he's adapting to this offense, I mean, he's just fitting in as if Breeze wasn't hurt, man. I mean, they ain't missing a beat on anything there. I think you have to, with Breeze age and having his first real major injury here being with New Orleans, I don't see Bridgewater going anywhere, right? As much as he's reestablished, and you think, okay, there would be a market for him. I think New Orleans would be crazy. How old is the guy? 29, 30? Is he in around that age?
I'm not 100% sure. I'd say he's right around there.
Yeah. He's been here a bit, but No, it's been.
I guess it would depend on what their plan is for Breeze.
True.
Everybody can't be Brady and play till he's 45.
No.
Breeze is 40 now, so his time is getting short for sure. So
yeah. All right, so we're going to move on to number 3. And number 3 and number 4, I'm going to be probably just flip-flopping the screen here, because at number 3, you have the Niners, and I have the Packers. And I took the Packers more, I think, because of who they have. Who was that against? Green Bay. Where are you, Green Bay? Oakland? Kansas City? Oakland.
They smoked Oakland.
Smoked Oakland. And I think Oakland was 3-3 coming in?
To that 3-2. They're 3-3 now.
Yeah, 3-2. Yeah. And I mean, Oakland has been a bit of a surprise. I think we can say that with a clear conscience that they've, surpassed, or they have to me, and I didn't give them any wins on the season. Not that anything I say ever comes true. But, that wasn't no real, I don't think it was a gimme for them, but like they ended up smoking them. And so 6-1. I was still pissed at Green Bay for that flipping win that they got against Detroit there on Monday night. That was still stewing on that one. But nonetheless, you have to clear your head and kind of do it, keep your head about yourself when you're doing these things. And so I opted to go with Green Bay because I was pretty impressed with what they did. And you know what? I think Rodgers and LaFleur, the coach there in Green Bay, they're really starting to get on the same page. And offensively, tell you, they're a sound team, man. I'll tell you, all the way around. They're playing, again, like you said, theme of this is defense. And they're probably playing a little more surprising defense than some of the other teams we're talking about. But, it came down to them in the Niners, and I chose to go with Green Bay. I know you have Green Bay at 4. I have the Niners at 4. So what caused you to pick the way you picked?
I can't really argue with you, Duke. It was just more or less I had the 49ers at 3 last week and the Packers at 4, and really I don't think they did enough. I couldn't downgrade the 49ers getting a win in that slot that they played in. I mean, they beat the Washington 9-0, but I mean, it was I don't know if you saw any of that, but it was freaking monsoon. Nobody could stand up. It was just horrible, but they got the job done. So I couldn't really downgrade them. I mean, personally, I try to do these things by saying, you know what, if these two teams played on a neutral field, who would I bet on? And that's who I would rank higher. And I'm kind of going against my better judgment on this one because I to be perfectly honest with you, I would definitely pick the Packers if that was the game next week, Packers versus 49ers. I would probably go with the Packers. So I'm actually going against my normal rules, but because I already had them in there, I didn't really want to flip-flop it. But I mean, that can change. So, but I definitely can't argue with you there. I mean, Green Bay's been doing that. Devontae Adams has been out for a couple of weeks as well. So, but I mean, Aaron Rodgers finally got a decent running game and Aaron Jones and a defense. And it seems like, everybody says that Rodgers and what's his name, LaFleur, are on the same page. Yeah, you know what? Come back and see me when they lose a couple games in a row and see if it's all unicorns and rainbows. Anybody can get along when you win. So we'll see what happens then. But for now, it's working. So
Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers until furtherly proven. So I agree with you. I think let's see when a little real adversity hits in Green Bay and see how Mr. Rodgers' neighborhood fares out with that there. So we definitely differed on pick number 5. And I was a little surprised with the choice you made. I wasn't. I see your reasoning why you would go with them. You went KC. I went the Ravens. We had a bunch of other 5-2 teams. Where did I have that? Right here. KC's 5-2. The Ravens 5-2. The Seahawks were 5-2. And I think 2 of the 3 of us last week had the Seahawks in there. I can't remember. Did you have the Seahawks in your top 5?
Yeah, I had them last week.
You did too.
Did I? I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty sure I did.
So it came.
I've had them in. Yeah.
Yeah. So it came down to those.
Well, number one, I couldn't. Yeah, I definitely couldn't pick the Seahawks over the Ravens if the Ravens just went in Seattle and give them beaten. Yeah. So that was part of the reason that went. So for me, I went. And then it came down to Ravens or you got anybody else 5-2 that you were going to talk about? Sorry.
No. Well, it was between those three teams. Like I said, we already had our top four pretty much established. So the fifth one was a matter of reasoning out why you would take who you took, and I took the Ravens a lot. Again, getting back to the whole defensive thing, and I think you'll say that Kansas City more about still with their offense and stuff, which can't be is going to get challenged. But anyway, I'll let you have your say on that. But with the Ravens, that was an impressive. I watched most of that game on Sunday. That was an impressive win. That is always a tough environment in Seattle with Russell Wilson under center, and they've been playing really good, the Seahawks. So this wasn't like just, well, okay, yeah, the crowd's tough in Seattle. That Seahawk team, they made our top five last week. And so Jackson is a guy who's really, I mean, we're watching him develop. He might not be Pat Mahomes, but he's making a name for himself little by little. He's kind of almost with Deshaun Watson. I'd even put Watson ahead of him a bit right at the moment. But, man, every week he keeps getting a little bit better, a little bit smarter. And I'll be honest with you, if right now the Patriots had to face the Ravens in a one-game playoff to go to the Super Bowl, I'd be watching intently. I wouldn't be brushing a game off right now playing the Ravens because they're looking very good. So that's kind of why I went with them at number 5. But as I said, you did go with KC. So what was your thinking with KC at 5?
Well, first of all, we're going to see that Patriots at Ravens in 2 weeks, Duke. So we're not going to have to wait too long. So that's going to be, after the Browns, going to be the first big test for the Patriots. So I'll be looking forward to that one, first weekend in November. But I'll tell you why, because, I mean, it came down, again, it's close. I mean, Baltimore, Kansas City, I can't argue with you there. The only thing that I did, and at first, to be honest with you, I actually thought, I said, when I do this top 5, I think the Ravens are going to be in there. And then I thought about it a little bit more. And, they're both 5-2. And they both won this past week. Kansas City beat Baltimore earlier in the year. Mm-hmm. That was my tiebreaker. Yeah. Now, I know Patrick Mahomes is out, and we're not sure how long he's going to be out. Right. Probably at least 2 or 3 weeks, which that didn't come into, obviously that didn't come into play for me because I don't think – I don't want to rank it just for what may happen, because if we'd have knocked the Saints out after Breeze got knocked out, see what would happen? We look to him stupid. So Teddy Bridgewater's not Matt Moore, but you know what? We'll give them the opportunity to play themselves out of the top 5 for me. But Kansas City still, I mean, they were top 2 for most of the year, and then they had the 2 losses in a row. And but I gave them the benefit of the doubt, partly because of the head-to-head with Baltimore. And they both got the exact same record. I mean, but I can't argue with going the other way for sure. Right.
Yeah, it definitely was a bad break for KC with the whole Mahomes thing. Man, just watching that and seeing the footage of that trainer trying to put his kneecap back in place, I'm like, oh, jeepers.
Wasn't good.
I'm not one for. I can put up with some stuff. Blood doesn't really bother me too bad, but, man, watching somebody's bones and stuff frittly like that, jeez, that couldn't have felt good whatsoever.
No.
It
couldn't have.
No. So that's essentially who our top 5 is this week. A little bit different. Not sure what Mac had. I guess he wasn't able to make it tonight. Had some work commitments and that. So, but good that we some are on the same page we are, and well, actually, we're on the same page 4 out of 5 pretty well. So everybody wants to keep a recording of this because this doesn't happen very freaking often.
Next week it'll all be different, Duke.
All different next week, yeah.
We'll get right back to the way it used to be. Just at each other's throats.
For sure. All right, so now we're going to finish off football with best of the rest. Anything from the other games that were played that kind of stood out to you? I can't, for myself, I don't have anything right particular that's standing out. Is there somebody that's done something that maybe we all need to talk about a little here?
No, not really. I mean, you had that, Dallas-Philadelphia game Sunday night, which obviously was for, top of that division. But, Dallas put it on to Philadelphia. The more Philadelphia plays, the more you kind of look back and go, how in the hell did the Patriots lose to that team 2 years ago? Yeah. Doug Peterson, not quite the genius everybody thought he was. And, but, it's still early. But that division is definitely up for grabs. Dallas 4-3 now, but other than that, I don't think there were some good games on Sunday for sure.
Well, Minnesota, I think, is a little noteworthy. I mean, Kirk Cousins was starting to get some heat in Minnesota about his play and how that was a bit of a dud signing and things like that. And he seems to be answering the bell. I mean, they played a pretty good game against Detroit. Stephon Diggs, obviously a guy that was in the rumors for the Patriots to go after. Kind of greasy wheel getting the grease sort of thing. He wanted the ball, and he showed on Sunday why that guy should be getting the ball. I mean, he makes Kirk Cousins look like a friggin' Pro Bowler out there and things. So I thought that was kind of noteworthy. Kind of watched a little bit of that game. I think what I saw in that, though, was Detroit was still a bit down over that loss to Green Bay. They just seemed to be really trying to work hard to stay in the game and try to be enthused and things like that. But I can't help but think maybe a little bit of, rubbed off still from that Monday night. Andrew says Sanders to the Niners. He might not have caught the first of it. So
talked a little bit about it, but
what's the thoughts on that? You think that's?
I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great signing for him. I mean, that's one of the things that they're weak on is wide receiver. I mean, they're 6-0 and Garoppolo is playing well, but it hasn't been because of his throwing. It's been more a run. They've just been running the ball and again, really good defense. So you put a veteran guy in there. And he's, like I say, he's not a guy that's going to go deep. He's more of a possession, more of a slot guy. So I think that's a huge, a really good signing for them. Yeah. We also have in the chat there, Brandon wants us to mention old Edmonds had a big game against the Giants for his Cardinals. I don't know what happened there. I think David Johnson was questionable going into the game, and then they actually activated him, and I think he played one snap and then didn't play again. I think I don't know if I'm exactly correct on that, but I don't even know what this guy's name is. Edmonds Chase, is it? I don't know. Anyway, I know he had 2 or 3 touchdowns. So the Cardinals, another team. I think what are they 3-3? So there's another young quarterback, Kyler Murray, that's played pretty well. With really not a whole lot around him, especially on the offensive line. So, they're definitely one to watch. But I think, in that NFC, I mean, you got what? You got San Francisco, Seattle fighting for that division. You got Minnesota, Green Bay fighting for that division. Then you're going to have whoever wins out of the NFC East.
Right.
And then you've got, New Orleans kind of thing with Carolina kind of, they're around. They're playing kind of pretty well. So, one of those teams are going to be out. So, the NFC is definitely top to bottom. The NFC is definitely the toughest conference. I mean, the AFC obviously has the Patriots. It's Arizona. Brandon got something to watch anyway. Well, a lot better than we thought they were going to be going in.
Well, they're not stinking the joint up by any imagination, and the young kid Murray, he's definitely going to be one of the faces of the NFL going down the road, and I'm still not sold that he's going to be an NFL quarterback completely. We'll see how that works out for a while. That guy had MLB potential. Could have been drafted, I believe, even. So you never know with him. But, Carolina was somebody that I actually had been kind of watching a little bit that could be. I mean, Ron Rivera is a good coach. He's gotten them, he's done a pretty good job with them so far and things. So I don't think you rule them out. Cam Newton, I don't know. Do you even bother to go back to him until this guy slows down a little bit? Right?
I don't think he can right now. He hasn't lost the game.
No.
So, I mean, you might as well ride this guy, at least until he loses one, I think. You almost have to make sure Newton is 100% when he comes back. There's no rush.
No.
Definitely.
No.
So,
no.
But, they've got a tough one this week. Who have they got this week? Did they have New Orleans, maybe?
Carolina, they was on a bye. They're at San Francisco.
Oh, there you go. I knew they had a tough one. So, that should be a good game.
Yeah.
It should be a nice game. So,
it will be.
Yeah.
All right, man. So that'll wrap up our coverage of the Week 7 of the National Football League. And tonight, in a little over an hour, The World Series, the 115th edition, will be commencing. Where's my stuff here? I get going all over the board. Here we go. There we go. Look at them graphics, boy. Look at that Duke go. Frig, man. Hours and hours of practice to figure this friggin' thing out here on Ecamm. Invested in a new Red Barber type mic for the show. So, I mean, we're going big time now, boys. We're going big time. So, anyway, Houston versus the Washington Nationals. And how sweet was it watching Altuve walk off the Yankees in Game 6 in Houston? Could you not help but think a little bit back to 2003? It would have been a lot sweeter if the Red Sox could have maybe done this. But you know what? Joy comes in different packages at times. And I got to say, I felt pretty good about watching the smirk on Aroldis Chapman's face. So, I don't know. How'd you feel about it? Feel bad for the Yankees or justice served?
Fuck no. You're crazy. Feel bad for the Yankees. Jeez, man. It's even better than Altuve's like, what, 5'5"? Holy shit, man. I mean, man, oh man. He's like, obviously, he's better than Dustin Pedroia. Yes, we have to bring in Red Sox a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But, just a guy that, with that small of a package. Did I just say that? Small package. I don't know. Anyway, guy that short, with that kind of power. I mean, man, you gotta give that guy. You gotta tip your hat to that guy. And you know what, Houston, they've got a tough team, and it was nice to see them dispatch the Yankees because I did not want to see that go to Game 7 because anything could have happened. Don't trust those guys a little bit. So, but the best team in the American League all season. They were, and they showed it, and they moving on, which I don't think was a big surprise, but it was a good series. It was there was a couple of good games in there, so it was all right. It wasn't the classic series I think that people were hoping for, but that's just the way it goes.
Well, that seems to always be the case when you come in with these series that get all the hype and things like that. It's rare that they live up to the billing what it was, but you did have the two top teams in the American League. One of them the second most home runs in the league or in all of baseball. But the move that Houston has made for solidifying that pitching staff with Greinke is definitely paying dividends, though he hasn't been exactly the Greinke I think they would want. But here's one. Here's a good question. If you were a reporter, who would you want to have the opportunity to ask questions to? Bill Belichick or Zach Greinke? Oh my goodness! Have you seen some of the watched interviews with Greinke?
I would just pass. Pass. Holy smoke! Yeah, I'd say, is there a bullpen catcher I could talk to? We'll probably get a little bit more out of him. I mean, these guys, you can't. He's a great pitcher. You can't. Not everybody's a great talker and likes to speak, and I think he is kind of like a shy guy, or maybe even a little bit of anxiety or something like that.
Doesn't he suffer from social anxiety disorder?
Yeah, I think something like that. So I mean, I definitely don't want to make fun of a guy that's he's not that exciting behind the mic. But you know what? Not everybody can be like me and you, Duke. All exciting on the mic.
No. But that begs the question, though, just to take a little conversation with this. But, I mean, if you're in Major League Baseball and you have this player who has a condition, I know he's one of your big names and you want to get that guy out in front there. But I don't think he helps the product with it. And to be quite honest, I don't think he'd be upset if you went to him and say, Zach, don't worry about interviews. You're getting a pass. We understand it's not something you're comfortable in doing. I don't think Zach Greinke would be bitching to anybody about not doing interviews. So, I kind of think maybe, Major League Baseball and, whoever he's playing for really should maybe take those things into some consideration because it looks painful. It is painful to even, like I did two. I think I went and watched 2 clips of it, and I'm like, if I see another Greinke one, I'm not even going to bother because it's like 27, 30 seconds a clip, and he's done. Like, he just gives you one of them looks straight at you, answers, and he kind of hangs his head, and he's done. He's done.
I just don't understand why they even think they're going to get something out of him. Why do they waste their time? I mean, it can't be good for, people aren't clicking on that.
No.
I mean, and like I said, this is nothing against that guy. Just saying, you know what, boys, why are you doing it? Why are you wasting everybody's time?
Yeah.
Go to somebody else. I don't care. I would say the same thing about Belichick. If I were these reporters getting, no answers all the time, I'd just say, screw that. I'm not coming to your press conference. He wouldn't. I mean, I'm sure he'd be happy about that. But why waste everybody's time? Every time he does an interview, everybody's all upset. It's like, what did you think you were going to get? He's been doing it for 25 years, man.
Yeah, but I think Bill just likes being a jerk because you watch him doing his TV program. He does it like with WBZ or somebody there in Boston. He's actually very candid. Like there's actually a smile once in a while, a cracks a grin stuff when they're talking and get a laugh here and there. I don't know. I think he just has something on beat reporters that he does not want to give them nothing at all.
I totally agree. They know what they're getting when they go in there when he gets on the podium.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Don't be surprised every time you get these answers. Same old shit.
Man.
We're on Cleveland.
Anyway, we'll hope Zach doesn't get too tormented in this World Series. The only day he really has to speak is when it's on his day to pitch. So we'll know which press conference to stay away from. So anyway, that's going to take us into our predictions for the series. We'll make the predictions and we will do a little bit of talking with it as well. So I'm going to post everything up here first so everybody can see what we got here. And one more there. Okay, so I don't know if you see the screen, if you're seeing the screen on your phone or whatever.
I don't know how far behind I am. I just see World Series.
Okay.
All right. I'm sorry.
He cracked a smile after declining the penalty twice. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. That was pretty funny, actually, last night. I'm kind of like, all right, Bill, there's like 4 minutes left. I wish he wouldn't have done that. I mean, do you know what Brand's talking about there?
I don't think
they were going to punt. We'll just do it aside. They're going to punt with, they're up 33-0, and they got the ball, 35-yard line or something, and they're going to punt, and he wants to take delay game so that they get the angle so that he can get it inside the 20 or whatever. And, of course, Gase declines the penalty. So then they go back out there, and he gets Brandon Bolden to jump early on purpose so that they give him a penalty. And of course, Adam Gase declines it again, and Belichick's over there, and you could tell he's trying not to smile, but you can actually see a little grin there. Yeah. But the funny part about that is he said afterwards it's a loophole in the rule because like the clock kept running. Like it would stop when they did the penalty, but as soon as they declined it and they started again, so they knocked off about 1:30 there in one play. I wish he would have kept that in his pocket for when he actually needed it sometime and really needed, if it was a one-possession game and really needed to. Now they're probably going to change the rule on him because that's what normally he does. He figures out a loophole in the rule, and then, it doesn't take him long to figure that out and to change the rule. But anyway, let's go back to baseball.
Right. All right, so T-Mac, as we said, wasn't able to make it today, so but he did send along his prediction. And for a while there, it looked like you and I were going to agree once again. I was so glad when you Skyped me and said, no, I think I changed my mind. I'm going to go with this one. So you and Mac are both going with the Nationals in 7. I'm going with Houston in 6. So I'm sure Mac has his reasons for why he's picked them in 7. I think there's that. More so than anything, there's that Montreal. He may never tell you that. I think he's still very bitter about the whole Expos to the National or to Washington sort of deal. But anyway, Matt, you got to get over that stuff. But I think there's a little sentiment of that for Mac. But for you, what are you thinking on this one? Because obviously you and I have no ties to either one of these teams. So what changed you from Houston to Washington?
Well, as you know, I at first when I texted you, I said I'm going with Houston in 6. Yeah. And more I thought about it, I talked about it, during the NLCS or before the NLCS. That seemed like Washington. It just seemed like kind of their year. Just after coming back being down the wild card game against the Brewers, coming back against the Braves. Is Braves? No, yeah. No, Dodgers. Sorry. But anyway, and then they just smoked the Cardinals. So the more I thought about it, Houston is definitely the cream of the crop. Well, really the last 4 years, really. And they got one World Series to show for it. It's definitely not going to surprise me if Houston ends up winning this thing. I mean, anything could happen. Nothing would surprise me. A sweep. Or 7 games. It would surprise me if Washington's for sure. But I think Washington. The more I thought about it, I mean, they said about the Yankees and how they matched up. And I really think pitching-wise, I mean, Washington obviously has the top starters that can really. It's arguable. They could be just as good as Houston's top three, for sure. I mean, sure. You got tonight. Scherzer against Cole. I mean, Cole has definitely been the top pitcher in the league this year. There's no doubt about that. But bet against Scherzer is kind of crazy. Strasburg, tomorrow against Verlander, and then we've got Greinke and Corbin. The only thing, I mean, Greinke obviously hasn't had a great season. Houston hits well against left-handers apparently. So that's kind of one of these things that which one comes up. You got to go the four-starter. I think Sanchez proven that he is definitely. He's definitely one of the top guys. He has been this postseason for sure. But tonight, I mean, Washington's been off for a week. It's definitely got to hurt hitter's timing a little bit, and then you got to get in there and face Cole. Saw a stat. Where the hell is it? This was unbelievable for Garrett Cole, to be honest. And I know this goes against my pick of Washington, but he is 25 starts, 19-0 with a 1.59 ERA in his past 25 starts. I don't know when that started. Probably in May, counting the playoffs. Yep. 19-0 with a .59, 0.81 win whip, 250 strikeouts and 169 third innings. Like that. That is all-time material right there, man.
Wow, that's Randy Johnson territory.
Man, he is unbelievable. Yeah. So, but it's going to be tough. I really think Houston will win this game tonight. I think Washington will come a little bit flat on the sticks, and I don't know if that's going to come from being a week off or both. But I do think over the time, I don't know, Washington's just gritty, man. I mean, talent-wise, Astros on paper, they are definitely better, but I will go Washington in 7 and see if the Expos / Senators win their first ever World Series.
Right on. Brandon's saying your mic is echoing a little bit. I don't know if you want to kind of just bring it off your mouth just a tad. See if that makes a difference to it or not. But I pretty much would agree with you pretty much on everything you said. Other than I'm still going to stick with my Houston pick. I watched what happened with Verlander in the Yankee series there, and he's hittable. Like, he can be dominating, but it's like you're more apt to have success against him at this point than we are with Garrett Cole, because he's just on one of those runs for the ages, Oral Hershiser type control and Randy Johnson type power, all packaged into one here. But that Nationals team it's different. Like, I think if we've learned anything in this playoff for this year, because I don't know if it can be a trend or not, but there's two teams, Minnesota and the Yankees, home run hitting teams. It didn't pan itself out. It wasn't the formula for success. And here's Washington, and they've hit some key home runs, don't get me wrong, but they are more of kind of like the Red Sox last year, kind of that doubles and singles and getting the clutch hit in the right time. Like, timely hitting is what they seem to be doing. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Washington win this thing. Actually, I'll be honest with you, I want Washington to win. I really would like to see them win, but I don't know. I just think, if the Astros win, we then have to kind of start putting them into that, that realm of dynasty sort of thing. And I know dynasty has changed in sports now. It's not what we knew dynasty years ago. When the Yankees won 5 world championships in a row, the Oakland A's won 3. Hockey, you had the Canadians winning 5 in a row. Even today, the Patriots are regarded as a dynasty, probably because of the 20-year run, but they've had 2 periods where they've won 3 Super Bowls in 4 or 5 years. So I think, and the other one that comes to me from more modern would be probably the Chicago Blackhawks, who won 3 Stanley Cups there in 5 years was it? I think a 5-year run. Yep. So I think our definition of dynasty has to change, because I just don't ever see seeing those 5s and 4s happening as much anymore. So here you have Houston, 3 American League Championship Series in a row. If they win this World Series here, they definitely are in that kind of conversation for the new meaning of dynasty. They're a good ball club, and I'll tell you what, it makes me wonder, and I'm not taking nothing away from the Sox last year, but let's be honest, Altuve was not a healthy Altuve. Could he have made a difference in that? We don't know. It doesn't mean anything, because that's sports. Injuries are part of it. It's not the other team's fault. If your opponent gets injuries, you still got to play, right? And you have to capitalize is what that's all about. But that team, that Houston team, when he's healthy, is totally different than when he's not at 100%, right? And he's now at 100%. Brantley's been a great addition for them. I think the bullpen is kind of what it's going to come down to, because the starting, like you, I think you flip a coin in the first 3 starters. It doesn't really matter. Yes, I would give Sanchez the edge of anybody else Houston throws in there in Game 4. Although, does Houston do they do the bullpen thing again? Are we hearing that? I haven't really kept tab of that.
I think that's probably what they're planning to. And I think it probably depends on where they are, right? You're up 2-1, you got a little more... You got a little more leeway thing, right? Yeah. They're down 2-1. Maybe they bring somebody back on short rest. Who knows? But if it comes down to a bullpen game, I think Washington's definitely in trouble. I mean, Houston, they don't have the juggernaut pen, that let's say the Yankees have, but. I mean, they definitely Osuna is a good pitcher. They said the Yankees have this great bullpen. Teams they lost were bullpen games. They lost extra innings, bullpen, and then Game 6 was a bullpen game. So you never know. When it comes this time, you throw in anybody that's ready to go, and bullpens maybe don't mean as much as long as the manager uses them correctly, and uses the right guy in the right situation. So. I think it's going to be. I think with these top starting pitchers from each team, man, it's going to be should be a World Series for the ages, really. I mean, I really think so. I mean, Scherzer's been a he's a workhorse. He goes out there and competes. I would love to see Scherzer win a World Series here. Things like that, and not the lead or anything, but. Be nice to see them win right after they get rid of Bryce Harper. Because there's no loss there. So that would be a bad thing either. So that would be pretty funny.
So what happens? How does Garrett Cole? How does Pittsburgh give up on Garrett Cole, and how does anybody else not get this guy?
Well, I think this is. I'm telling you, dude. I think it's this pitching coach Houston has, man. He turned around Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton was a fourth starter.
Yep.
Right. And now one of the top pitchers in the league. It all because he went to Houston. After that. Garrett Cole was a good pitcher. I mean, we know. You had him in fantasy, but he was a very frustrating guy when he was with Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And he's come over to Houston. So would he have done this for somebody else? I don't think he would have been this good. I think Houston that pitch, and I don't know what his name is. I should know that, but I don't. So, but this guy, Verlander was people forget. Verlander was a waiver wire, last second trade. He had to go waivers. He was kind of on his last legs in Detroit. That's the only reason that Houston got him that year.
Yeah.
And he's turned it around here at almost 40 years old. So I think this pitching coach for Houston is he's the MVP.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's a good point, because you'd have to say him, because when you look at the catching core that Houston has there, I mean, there's no Yadi or Molina behind the plate for Houston. Not that they're not terrible catchers, obviously. The catcher has to play a little part in it. There has to be a little chemistry there, a feel, because not every single pitch is going to be up to the manager calling. I mean, pitchers They like to, kind of make some alterations on the fly. So there's some chemistry, but no, there's no Yadier back there catching these guys. So I think that's a valid point you bring up with the pitching coach and stuff. So, but Houston has become one of them franchises where they make good moves. They make sound moves, right? Not a whole lot of stupidity there with any of the moves they've made in this run that they've had of winning the American League. Being to the American League Championship, obviously, and getting to the World Series. So, but no, it should be a great series. Looking forward to it. Hopefully, it lives up to its billing. I mean, if these guys can pitch, I think games like 3-2, 4-3 would be fair. That would be pretty entertaining and stuff like that. So, we'll see. 45 more minutes and we'll begin to find out what's going to happen here in this 115th edition of the World Series, in which the American League has won 66, the National League has won 48, and we're needing Houston. If you're an American League person only, if that's how you do your sports, I'm a National League guy, I'm cheering all National League, well, we need the American League to win this one to get a split for the decade. So put it at 5-5. So
you mean the decade that the Yankees never showed up at the World Series? First time since 1910. I didn't bring that up.
Oh shoot! Don't you do that, like Crow. Sorry. Okay, so let's finish up our baseball segment with this. This was something I'd asked you back in our Skype chat prior to the broadcast. In that. Aside from any of the Red Sox, obviously for us, the 04 would be the most, biggest World Series for us. But aside from those ones they've been in, what would you say was your most memorable World Series that stood out to you to watch?
Well, I thought about this, Duke. There's a few, of course, obviously, but I mean, the one that really stands out to me the most, and it's a little bit different than, although it was probably one of the greatest World Series that we've seen in our lifetime. But the reason that it stands out to me was that I was watching it in Dominican Republic. I was down there umpiring, and after the game was over, we tried to go to the nearest bar because all those guys in the Dominican are crazy, crazy baseball fans, so they didn't want to miss any of the World Series. We caught the end of most of them, and that was the 01 Diamondbacks Yankees.
Oh.
That one there is one for the ages, and that's one that kind of, when they talk about big World Series, you don't see that as much, and it should be. I mean, we ended up going to Game 7. Diamondbacks, Yankees had come off 4-5. They had won 4-5 World Series. They won 96, they won 98, 99, 2000, right? So, they get in there. This was right after 9/11, of course. So a little bit different there, but Diamondbacks, with Randy Johnson, Curt Schilling, and 1-2 pitchers, win the first two in Arizona. Yankees come back home, win Game 3, and that was the one that George W. Bush threw out the first pitch. Everybody remembers that. It was kind of like after 9/11, all the feels kind of thing, and But in Game 4 and 5, right there, the Yankees down 2-1, and Young Hung Kim or whatever his name was there gives up with the old side armor, gives up home runs, with 2 outs in the 9th, twice in a row to tie the game, and ended up losing Game 4 and Game 5. Both of them, the Diamondbacks were ahead going into the 9th. Both of them have home runs to tie it and go extra innings. They go back to Arizona. Arizona's down, Game 6, I think, is a blowout, and then Game 7, one of the, really, really great game ends up, I think it's tied up going into the bottom of the 9th. The Yankees load the bases off Mariano Rivera and less than 2 outs, so they got to bring the infield in, and Luis Gonzalez hits the bloop over the infield to win the game. So that one was something.
Yeah.
So I saw that. Like I said, I saw that bunch of Dominican umpires that most of them were Yankee fans. I don't know why, but I guess it's one of those things, they watch baseball, we don't watch Yankee. Like I said, they had just won 4 of the last 5 World Series, so there have been a few fans there. But that one, that was quite the World Series. I think Schilling and Randy Johnson both, they got co-World Series MVPs, I believe. So
they did, that was a great one, and obviously, the Fall Classic has a lot of great moments. Obviously, with Kirk Gibson's home run off Dennis Eckersley, I mean, one of the most classic, not just because it was a classic home run, because it was a walk-off, but the story behind how he hits it. I mean, he's up there, both leg, not one, both leg, can barely get him up there. And I always love listening to that clip when they talk to him about it. And you'll notice at a point in the sequence, he steps out of the box on Eckersley, and this is when he's got him at 3-2. And he said the pitching coach or somebody, batting coach or somebody said to him, and it came to him in the box, and that's why he stepped out. And you see him look down, and as he's telling that, you can see like what he's saying there. And he said when Eckersley gets you 3-2, he's coming backdoor on the backdoor slider, right? Yeah. And sure, and I mean, he's telling the truth there when he's saying it, and it's at the same time his swing, like he the way he cuts his bat, man, I'm telling you, that was a thing of beauty. It was a thing of beauty.
Probably one of the greatest moments. I mean, in our lifetime in the World Series for sure. I mean, I don't know if that's that same special, but I think Bob Costas was down in the tunnel, I believe. I think it was Bob Costas, and he tells the story that he's hearing him taking swings, and every swing would be whack. Oh, it's just in pain. Most pain. Like every time he swung, he'd let out a grunt. He knew he was just in so much pain. But he ended up coming out there, and doing what he did. It was one of the best calls. It was definitely one of the best moments in our lifetime in the World Series for sure. Red Sox, non-Red Sox related for sure.
Non-Red Sox related. There's that one. Obviously, Joe Carter's home run walk-off in Toronto for their second World Championship was a great moment. But I'll tell you, one for pitching, and seeing as the theme of this World Series is going to be about starting pitching, the World Series that stands out the most to me, the most memorable, and it isn't really the first 6 games, though the 6th game was memorable because Kirby Puckett walked it off in Minnesota against the Atlanta Braves. I think Charlie Leibrandt might have been in relief in that game, and he hits one off him to tie it. But Game 7, probably the greatest pitching matchup I've ever seen in a game, and I hope I get to see one of those this time. Jack Morris and John Smoltz. I mean, a young John Smoltz. Jack Morris, obviously the veteran. 10 innings. Smoltz went 8, I think. I don't think he got to the 9th. Maybe he did, but Morris went 10. And that's something you might see it again. Like, you can never say never, but the likelihood, especially in this day of bullpens and specialization and things like that. But that was a game for the ages. And you would think, and it was what, 1-0, 2-1,
1-0. Oh, 1-0.
1-0.
It was 1-0. That one was 1-0.
It's hard to, and it's hard to believe that a 1-0 game could be exciting. But Game 7 obviously has its own excitement that comes with it. But it was just, I think there was like 3 or 4 double plays throughout the whole, like on both sides. They were making, they was getting rare opportunities, but double plays were killing the rally and stuff like that. Morris with that fork ball, back then they called it a fork ball. Today they got another name for it. I don't know why baseball changes the terminology on the same pitch all the time. I guess it's marketing. I guess it must be the only reason why they do it. But that is a game, like I still to this day, I can still like watch Morris, the way he threw. That was an Atlanta team who were in the midst of like their own kind of dynasty, if you know what I mean. I mean, they were a dynasty per se in the National League in terms of winning
14 straight division titles.
Division titles.
It was the middle of that, or something like that.
Yeah,
that was 1991, right?
91 was that World Series. Yeah, and I mean, just incredible. Like I've never seen a pitching perform. I mean, I've seen great World Series. Obviously, we've both seen them. We've mentioned a couple here. But that for pitching, just pure back to the old Bob Gibson type days of pitching, and that was the other thing I wanted to point out on the show that I heard the other day. They were talking about these pitchers today, and they're like, they're good, they're very good. But let me tell you about what good is. Good is 3 times in the World Series in the 1960s, pitching 3 games in each World Series and not getting below 8 innings or 7 innings in either of those games. Bob Gibson. That is an incredible story of pitching. And when I watch that, like when I recall that game of Morris and Smoltz, that's what comes to mind. Like that was a way back in time type matchup and stuff. So, anyhow, I thought we would kind of close out our baseball coverage with that, bring back a few memories of games or World Series that obviously has brought memories to us and stuff. And I'm sure everybody watching, has their own that they can remember. But, again, I think this one here has that potential to be a great World Series too as well. So, all right, we're getting too close to the top of the hour. Every time we plan on trying to keep this short as possible, we never get that far. So I give up saying that anymore.
Well, it's true. Not too bad. We're under an hour so far.
Yeah. So you got anything you want to close with? Anything else come to mind, or something you want to share with the folks?
No, I think we just gotta, obviously we gotta. I don't know if we even mentioned it, but the Raptors are putting up the banner. I think here any minute and getting their rings. Neither one of us are really Raptors fans, but you got to give them some props. You get ready to defend their title tonight, and hopefully, I really do hope. Everybody's kind of writing them off this year with no Coleman and all this kind of thing. I know we're not going to get into basketball talk. But tonight, I do think, just looking at their lineup and things, just what little bit I know, what I've heard, I do think they're still going to make the playoffs this year. They still should be able to get in there, in a 5 or 6 seed or something, and who knows. So hopefully that'll keep people's interest, and they won't just get pissed off at basketball and never watch it again after one championship. But I guess, like I say, you gotta give them some, give them a little love tonight when they're freezing the banner here in a few minutes. So we'll do that. I'll do that.
Well, we had intended to go with basketball, but once we found out that T-Mac wasn't going to make it tonight, I thought, well, gives us an extra week to kind of study up more, because I know we do have some people who follow it a bit, and I want to give it its due, give it a good, reasonable account on our behalf to it. So we got a week to get ready, Bladesy, so we got no reason not to have at least some kind of knowledge of what the hell's going on, and T-Mac will be here to bail us if we fall short in any area and stuff. So anyway, that puts a wrap on tonight's show. Thanks so very much for everybody that's watching here tonight. Thanks for your comments, guys. We really appreciate it. It's what helps make the show. We really like when that happens, gives us something else to add into the program, and we appreciate everybody's interest that takes part in it. So on behalf of Bladesy and myself, thank you so very much for watching. Sunday Night Sports, guys. We'll be back in 7 days when we will do it all again, starting with Week 8 in the National Football League. Everybody have yourselves a great night, and get out there and watch that World Series. Bye for now.